All right, old school NBA fans, self-research NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. My comment of the day comes from, and I'm not picking on you exactly, Colin O'Hearn 592. There was a bunch of people who pushed back on me when I made that Scap Attack Nikola Jokic video. And I think once I watched it again, maybe I didn't explain it thoroughly enough or good enough. You say, I appreciate the channel, but Scap is right. Jokic isn't padding stats. He nearly carried Serbia to a win over a roster of NBA All-Stars in the Olympics. Arguably more impressive than Jordan taking on the stacked Celtics. Jokic's teammates simply don't have the defense, leadership, or basketball IQ of the All-Star and All-NBA players he's facing. So you said a few things there. First of all, I'm glad you appreciate the channel, and I do appreciate your support. Second, whether Jokic is padding stats or not. Like Michael Jordan, he wasn't necessarily padding stats. It was kind of the same kind of thing. He had to carry a team offensively, right? Well, Jordan had Pippen. Jokic has Murray. They're scoring around the same. Even when you factor in pace is pretty much to the same thing. But look, however you feel about Jamal Murray is irrelevant. My point is, what if Jamal Murray was suddenly named All-Star? Does that make him better all of a sudden? What that does is that takes away Scap Attack's narrative of, oh, he never got to play with an All-Star. So all it would have taken was at any point, any teammate that Jokic had in the last 10 years to be named All-Star, and then Scap Attack doesn't get to say that anymore. I just think that's not the right way to advance your Nikola Jokic agenda. There's plenty of ways to do it. I think he's right on the money talking about metrics. He's got the best metrics. He's top 3 in assists, rebounds, points. That's along the lines to talk about. I just think this all-star thing is the wrong approach. I think it's dumb. That's why I gave that list of guys like Jeff Teague, Roy Hibbert, Kyle Korver. Jamal Murray is absolutely better than those guys. They made All-Star. So if they were in the Eastern Conference and Jamal Murray gets named All-Star, Scap Attack's narrative is gone. It's a dumb one to begin with, but that was my whole point about it. And talking about Larry Bird, he played with all these guys. Well, a lot of them were not playing at All-Star level before Bird got there, though. Bird made them All-Star, All-NBA level. Now, Jokic has probably helped those guys, and a lot of it has to do with the health. They're not playing enough games to qualify earlier in the season. But I just don't like the All-Star narrative. That's it. That's really all it was. And I didn't like the example of Larry Bird that he used either, because Jokic is not Bird yet. Not yet. He's got the MVPs, but he doesn't have the overall effect on the game. Kevin McHale did not come into the NBA as a stud, getting you 20 and 10. No, he couldn't beat out Cedric Maxwell his rookie year or his second year. Eventually he did, but not right away. And I like to think a lot of it had to do with Larry Bird. Jokic with Serbia against the United States. Now, the one game, the semifinal game, yeah, that was impressive. Now, they did get smoked by over 20 points earlier in the year, but that's fine. And it would mean more if Serbia almost beat them or whatever it was, if the South Sudan didn't almost beat the Team USA. France was right there too. I think they were only down by 5 points a few minutes ago, and you can say, oh, they had Wembanyama, but they didn't really have too much else. They had like Batum and a couple other guys. Team USA was ripe for an upset. It didn't happen. They hit big shots down the stretch, but come on. You watch that South Sudan, those last 2 plays. LeBron James throws a right-hand forearm to knock the defender away. No call. And then South Sudan got the rebound. The 2 guys South Sudan grabbed it. They got hacked to death. No call. They could have easily lost that game. I know it was an exhibition, but my point is, Team USA against the right team at the right time, they easily could have got beat. Yeah, in 1986, Boston won 9 home games in a row. They took 1 loss to Portland. Then they proceeded to win 41 in a row at home. The closest anyone came to beating them, the Chicago Bulls Game 2 first round, take them to double overtime. But I think a more accurate comparison would be what Michael Jordan and Team USA did in 1984 when they beat the All-Stars of the NBA 8 games in a row, including the world champion Boston Celtics front court of Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, and Larry Bird, along with players like Mark Aguirre, Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, beat them 8 in a row. Not sure that's going to be a good comparison there. Yeah, he had pre-NBA Patrick Ewing, Chris Mullin, Alvin Robertson, and a bunch of other guys you never heard of. But listen, it's not any player in the NBA's birthright to play with all these star players. But it's up to us to decide how good a player did with the hand they were dealt. I treat Nikola Jokic as the second best on my entire top 25, top 30 actually, because he got one legitimate shot at a title and he won it. So he has a 100%. Only Michael Jordan topped that because he did 100%, but he did it 6 times. We can argue about who had the better supporting cast, Hakeem Olajuwon in 1994 or Nikola Jokic in 2023. I got it as dead even. But what I don't have as dead even are the teams that Houston beat along the way. Much better than what Denver beat. Nikola Jokic is obviously the best player of the 2020s. He's a great player. He plays this modern game better than anyone in the NBA. No question. Since they haven't had a lot of marquee series wins, we're going to blame it all on the supporting cast. And you can do that. 1990, Game 7, Eastern Conference Finals. Michael Jordan shot 13 for 27 against Detroit. Say that's a pretty good game. Players 2 through 6 in minutes played proceeded to go 11 for 57. Has Nikola Jokic ever had his teammates go 11 for 57? No, I didn't think so. But even still, it is what it is. When you do get those chances, you need to cash in on them. And so far, Jokic has done that in the one legitimate shot he had. Just don't give me the all-star stuff. B.J. Armstrong in 1993, a non-all-star. He's a bum, right? Either an all-star or you're a bum. In 94, he makes all-star because the fans decided, we're going to vote for the Bulls shooting guard anyway, even though Jordan's gone. So now B.J. Armstrong is validated because he made an all-star team? It's ridiculous. That's the part of the narrative I just can't get behind. You can say whatever you want about Jokic's teammates. They have a low IQ and they're not very good at this or that. They're not the best player, okay? It's all fed through Jokic, period. But like I said, if Jamal Murray is not important, Jokic would do just as good without him as with him. And in the playoffs, the record is much different when Murray is there as when he's not there. So he's got to have at least some value. And that's all I'm talking about it. But thanks for the comment and the support, Colin O'Hearn. Much appreciated. Now, in this video here, I did some extensive research the other day because I just had to know, was this the case? Of all the top 75 wing players in NBA history, there are 47 small forward, shooting guard, point guard, top 75 players. How many of these guys had games where they shot in the playoffs under 30%? How many of these guys had bad games, truly bad games? Now, you shoot 35%. Yeah, that's not a good game at all. But it's not horrendous like under 30% is. And when you take a look at all these names, it's really incredible. Again, who's at the top of this list? All right, Ray Allen, 171 playoff games. He shot under 30% from the field 37 times, 21.63%. Carmelo Anthony, 83 playoff games, 13 times under 30%, 15.6. Tiny Archibald, 47 playoff games. He's got 10 under 30%, 21.27%. Paul Arizin, 49 playoff games. He's got 7 under 30%. Rick Barry, 105 games, 12 under 30%. Elgin Baylor, 134 playoff games, 12 he shot under 30%. Dave Bing, 31 playoff games, 3 under 30%. Larry Bird, 164 playoff games. He had 10 where he shot under 30%. That's actually a 6.1%, which is really good. One of the better ones. Kobe Bryant, 199 playoff games. Didn't count the one in the finals. I think it was game 4 where he only played like a few minutes. Didn't count that game, but I counted all the rest. He had as a starter, he had 10 under 30%, 5.02%. Billy Cunningham, 54 playoff games. He's got 10. Steph Curry, he did pretty good for a three-point shooter, even though it's very easy to shoot. You're wide open most of the time, but not always. 155 playoff games. He only had 8, 5.16%. That's actually really good. He didn't have a lot of bad shooting games. He had 8 of them. Dave DeBusschere, 96 playoff games, 17 under 30%. Clyde Drexler, 145 playoff games, 14 under 30%. Kevin Durant, 170. He only had 9, 5.29%. Being a scorer and efficient was never Kevin Durant's problem. Big problem was showing up in big games, maximizing his teammates, and showing some defensive heart. I mean, you're what, 6'11"? You should be like Wembanyama out there. I just never saw that from you. Dr. J, 189 playoff games, only 11 under 30%, and most of those came towards the end of his career. Walt Frazier, 93 playoff games, 6 under 30%. That's great. George Gervin, I did not know this. This blows my mind. Wow. George Gervin, he only played 84 playoff games, but still never had a playoff game where he shot under 30%. That's amazing, and that is the best on the list. Hal Greer, in 92 playoff games, he had 11. James Harden, wow. I mean, he's got one of the most on here. 173 playoff games, 30 under 30%. And he played the game similar to Steph Curry, right? A lot of threes, a lot of step back, all that stuff. 30 times under 30%. Wow. John Havlicek in 172, he had 26. That's a lot. Allen Iverson, 71 playoff games, 13. I actually thought he would have had more, but no. LeBron James, 292 playoff games, 10 under 30%. Now, of all the players that you can track, he had the most shots within 3 feet of the basket. That explains a lot of it, but still, okay, 3.42%. That's really good, LeBron. Magic Johnson, out of 190, he only had 13. Sam Jones, out of 122, he had 14 games. Now we come to Michael Jordan. In 179 playoff games, he had 4 that were under 30%. Just 4. 2.23%. You'll find that to be the second best, only behind George Gervin. Jason Kidd, he had a ton of them. Not a good shooter. 146 playoff games, 36 under 30%. I think Ray Allen had the most, as a matter of fact, at 37. Kawhi Leonard, 146 playoff games, only 7 under 30%. He had a good percentage, 4.79. That's one of the best ones on here. Damian Lillard, 68 playoff games, 12 under 30%. Pete Maravich, 26 playoff games. Can't believe the guy only played 26 playoff games. He had 4 under 30%. That comes to 15% though. Reggie Miller, 144 playoff games, 16 under 30%, 11.11%. Earl Monroe, 82 playoff games, 13 under 30%. Steve Nash, 116, 13. Chris Paul, 149 games, 11. Gary Payton, 152 games, 11. Paul Pierce, 158 playoff games, 22 games under 30%. Scottie Pippen, 204 playoff games. He had 19 of them under 30%. That's about middle of the pack. Now, obviously, some of the older players are not going to have quite as good because, the rims weren't as good, the ball wasn't as good, the game was played much differently. Everybody wanted to get as many shots towards the basket as possible. Just how they played the game back then. They probably didn't have as good techniques as they do now. A lot of things. Obviously, the more technology, the better things are going to get. I believe that. Oscar Robertson, he had 86 playoff games, 9 under 30%. Bill Sharman, 78 playoff games, 9 under 30%. John Stockton had a lot of them, which I was very surprised at. 182 playoff games, 33 games he shot under 30%, but he was shooting a lot of jumpers. Isaiah Thomas, 111 playoff games, he had 17. He's a little high. Dwayne Wade, one of the better ones on the list. 177 playoff games for Dwayne Wade, only 7 under 30%. Impressive. Jerry West, 152, he had 12. Single digits. Anybody who's in the single digits is fine. Russell Westbrook, as you would expect, out of 135 playoff games, 32 were under 30% from the field. That's a high percentage, 23.70. In fact, that's the second highest percentage on here to Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd had the highest percentage of under 30% from the field playoff games of any top 75 wing player, with Russell Westbrook coming in about 1% behind him for second worst. Lenny Wilkins, 64 playoff games, 15 under 30%. He also had a very high percentage. Dominique Wilkins, people call him a gunner. Well, when it came to bad games, not really. 56 playoff games, he only had 4. That's 7.14%. That's pretty good. And James Worthy, now some people call him a power forward, but he was listed as a small forward every year of his career except his rookie year. So I think he's a small forward. And he comes in as the third best behind Michael Jordan. Now, sure, he took a lot of shots close to the basket like LeBron James, but he did take jumpers too. But he's got 143 playoff games, only 4 under 30% for 2.79%. So what's very telling to me is George Gervin had no games out of 84 playoff games where he shot under 30%. Amazing. 0%. But Michael Jordan is second, 2.23%. Now, I just did him against like top 25 all-time players. I did all the top 75 wing players. But second out of 47 players, and people say that, oh, he just shot a lot. He's efficient as you can't believe. For somebody who shot as much as Jordan, he was pretty efficient. How wasn't he? Now, if you were curious, because I was, what 4 games did Michael Jordan shoot under 30%? What games were those? His 4th worst game he ever shot in the playoffs was 1997 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 2 against Miami. Now, they were a 61-win team. They were the number 1 defense. Now, years later, people like Nick Wright, Shannon Sharp, they'll say, oh, they weren't that good. Come on, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Ball to the basket more. Here's Jordan. Goes good shot, no.
Well, in 4 total games in Miami, regular season and playoffs, played in Miami, they beat them 3 out of 4. They couldn't have been that bad.
Jordan over Vashawn Leonard. Great D again by Vashawn Leonard.
They won 61 games. They were the highest rated defense. And you had the 97 Bulls out there, 69-win Chicago Bulls team, and you had a higher defensive rating. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad team.
Finds Kukoc, gets a beautiful return pass, and Morning is there with the block.
I may be wrong about this, but I thought Tim Hardaway was first team All-NBA that year. It was a nice squad. I think P.J. Brown made all defense. Obviously, you got Alonzo Mourning, a great player. You had Dan Marley. You had Vashawn Leonard. You had Jamal Mashburn, very nice player. They had a nice team.
And a chance to get the lead. Jordan continues to struggle.
The 3rd worst shooting playoff game Michael Jordan ever had, probably not a surprise, the 1996 Finals, Game 6. That's one that just sticks out. He was 5 for 19, 26.3%. That's his 3rd worst. Seattle was the number 2 rated defense only because the Bulls were number 1. His 2nd worst shooting game ever, 1997 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 4. 9 for 35, 25.7%. Again, there's that Miami team again. They're really bad. They had Jordan shoot 2 of his 4 worst playoff games of his career. Were they really that bad? Yeah, I didn't think so. And the worst game, we all know, I've talked about it before. Nick Wright loves to talk about it. 1993 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 3, Michael Jordan, 3 for 18, 16.7%. And what was the Knicks' defensive rank? Number 1. So of his 4 worst games, 3 of them were against the number 1 defense in the NBA, and the other one was against the number 2 defense because the Bulls were number 1. So that was the best defense they could have played in the NBA in every one of those games. But we got to give George Gervin his props here. He is the king of not having bad games among all top 75 wing players. He never had a game under 30% from the field in the playoffs. You got to tip your hat to that. And I do. Anytime you do something better than Michael Jordan, you absolutely deserve a lot of praise. But once again, out of 47 players, who's in the top 2? Exactly. So anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, please hit the like button. If you wouldn't mind sharing it, that would be great. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. I give daily content, and that's it. Until next time.